Advanced English Arabic Learning Session 67. We got along when she was sober, but otherwise we despised and loathed one another. A dress with puffed sleeves. I describe the mistakes I made and the way I acted sometimes as being pretty reprehensible. Exercises that make you puff. The train came puffing in. Plagiarism is first and foremost a moral crime. It's reprehensible because the plagiarist is passing off someone else's ideas or words as his own. He puffed on his pipe contentedly. The actress Jasmine puffed on a cigarette. I worked as a silversmith and lectured at Glasgow School in silversmithing and jewellery. Be careful from the advertisers' puffs. I should be on the front lines, not making deals backstage. Best shower puff, loofah. The whistle and puff of steam. This exhibit is an exploration of the private and backstage aspect of the shows. He took a puff of his cigar. Removed plastic and wooden handles from frying pans and saucepans. A jam puff. His dyslexia, the bane of his life, meant that he found writing difficult. It is predominantly a coastal bird. The official spoke on condition of anonymity. The evil is malevolent violence, the bane of our human existence. She has waived her right to anonymity. Juvenile nuisance and disorder are the bane of so many neighborhoods. Some people are not only fueling this curse, but actually making a profit from it. Unbeknown to me, she made some inquiries. A vast glacial trough. Critics are seen as the bane of writers' lives. In an airplane cockpit, pilots and crew have precise standard checks to protect the lives on board. Businesses with seasonal peaks and troughs. The stalwarts of the Labour Party. He has sustained fatal wounds in his stomach. Continuous rather than one-off changes. His apocalyptic vision looks more like prophecy than fiction. A stalwart committee member. He remained a stalwart supporter of the cause. A young man mature beyond his years. Yet despite my dismissive attitude towards apocalyptic theories and prophecies, she was a mature lady when she married. Van Gogh's mature work. It's time to put a stop to these unfair and fraudulent practices which are crippling farmers. A mature and sophisticated economy. Children mature at different ages. Leave the cheese to mature. The bank has recourse against the exporter for losses incurred. When the policy matures, it pays off the loan. They have no recourse to the courts to review the case. Miranda beckoned to Adam. The impunity enjoyed by military officers implicated in civilian killings. The going is tough and soft options beckon. This book helps you figure out ways to suppress the feelings of depression following someone's death. A one-off show. She had tried to subdue the aching questions and pleas of her heart and soul. The meeting is a one-off. Many people can't digest cow milk-based products. They can assimilate stuff crafted from goat's milk which is lower in lactose. There is no warrant for the popular notion. He confesses his faux pas to them. Fashion faux pas. An imbalance of excitation and inhibition may underlie several neurological diseases, including autism. They seem to be engrossed in conversation. There are also plenty of products set to debut at the show. The notes totally engrossed him. He was a believer in all sorts of myths and mysteries. He was always an early bird. Is it good to be an early bird? Devout beliefs can impede one's effectiveness as a peacekeeper. Few espouse political ideologies of any sort. He used to ill-treat him. The satisfaction of a day afield, in the field. But this is just speculation, and there may be many members of the church who live devout lives. Competitors from as far afield as Aberdeen. The congregation who prayed devoutly and sang about the love. He is guilty of culpable homicide, premeditated. Draw a circle 10 centimeters in diameter. The fish are so tame you have to push them away from your face mask. The pond has a diameter of 200 meters. The diameter is equal to radius times 2. A demure wife who sits at home minding the house. I had demeaned the profession. Cigarettes from all and sundry. On that occasion, she relentlessly scrounged, albeit in a sweetly demure fashion, suggesting a certain profligacy towards other people's property. Disgusting and demeaning to women. No man demeaned himself so honorably. The wife of the first son is demure and timid. But the wife of the second son answers back to the father. His happy demeanor. His death has prompted an industry-wide investigation of safety violations. His somber demeanor. Your father is going to tear up that contract and we're going to be out scrounging for work again. His latest misdemeanor. An Antarctic terrestrial ecosystem is not a particularly spectacular affair. His quiet demeanor. I suddenly felt desolate and bereft. A desolate moor. The competition tends to be a family affair, with a barbecue and refreshments throughout the day. The droughts that desolated the dry plains. He slammed the door shut and they heard the scrape of a key in the lock. A bleak, desolated and barren moor. The whole mess was eerily silent, the only sound the scrape of spoons. The boys were instructed in turnery. Out in the bay a small figure was rowing a rubber dinghy. What a load of utter drivel! They had a row and she stormed out of the house. A noisy acrimonious quarrel. The usual boring drivel. I smiled feebly. I simply sat there, butt on the ground, staring at the sun-streaked walls. It was the most intriguing activity on earth. He feebly attempted to defend the challenge. She shams indifference. To make a sham move to mislead an opponent. He denounced the maltreatment meted out to minorities. A moratorium on the use of drift nets. That corporal punishments were meted out to workers, was the common complaint at the meeting. There is a moratorium on recruitment. We were young and carefree. There is urgent need to link and sensitize the police and medical fraternity. Deterring punishments are meted out to the offenders. She changed from a carefree girl into a woman. He broke the deadlock with a penalty after 15 minutes. He faltered and finally stopped in mid-stride. The music faltered, stopped, and started up again. We should never lose sight of the fact that it is a real economy. A divorced man paying his ex-wife £2,500 a year maintenance. The estate was mortgaged up to the hilt. We're ready to defend our client to the hilt. He was also the hinge and the catalyst for the largest covert operation in history. He lives life to the hilt. She is up to the hilt in that project. The future of the industry could hinge on the outcome of the election. His straight-laced parents were horrified. Each person who turns to God in genuine repentance and faith will be saved. The joke shocked her straight-laced parents. When the lights turned green, the car pulled off. A woman with a straight-laced bodice. There will be a possible recourse to arms. My straight-laced aunt doesn't approve of my miniskirts. A means of solving disputes without recourse to courts of law. Marry to a straight-laced woman can be advantageous. Pulling himself out from under the car, he grabs a rag and wipes his grimy hands. As a last recourse, we might contemplate putting some marines there. The walls had been stenciled with designs. Her summers were spent in a variety of exotic locales. The men were all very grimy, and their weariness showed in their filthy faces. Fraught with danger for everyone. The barge itself was in pristine condition, enhanced by being in full sail. There was a fraught silence. All the defendants were dressed identically in pristine white shirts. When you think I am gonna zig, I zag. The pitch is in pristine condition and it was a thrill for both teams. That's just how I roll, guys. I'll smile until I physically can't. She started to roll up her sleeping bag. A devilish glint appeared in his slightly oriental eyes. She rolled up her sleeves to wash her hands. An evil glint appeared in her eyes as she grinned at me. The names of his colleagues rolled off his lips. Then the corn is coarsely ground to break the germ loose from other kernel components. If you don't get drunk, you don't get rolled. A sly glint came to his eye then, as if he was about to say something mischievous. A roll of carpet. He lifted his left foot from the water and finally swore loudly and coarsely. I should eat out, enjoy the fat roll I'd taken out of my account. Male crickets are able to make a high-pitched sound which humans cannot hear. The end. Coming next. Session 68.